If you liked how well killing Medicare went over for Republicans so far this year, welcome to step 2. I do not know what Democrats did to deserve this gift. Some Democrat somewhere must have been really good in a past life for Republicans to be handing this to them now. Joining us now is Cenk Uygur, host of Msnbc Live at 6 p.m., as well as the Young Turks, radio and online. Cenk, it is great to see you. Thanks for being here, my friend.
Thank you, Rachel. Great to see you.
What did Democrats do to deserve this bounty, Cenk? I mean, are Republicans seriously considering going after Social Security after what has happened with them on Medicare this year?
Well, I think they are. And the reason for that is that they can't help themselves. This is what they've been trying to do ever since Social Security was created. They came up with the, phrase Ponzi scheme in 1967. They've been pushing it ever since. Dick Armey of FreedomWorks fame pushed it just at the end of last year at one of his conventions. And then all of a sudden, the words pyramid scheme and Ponzi scheme start popping up everywhere, including in Joe Heck's mouth. If you remember last year, actually, Paul Lenti wrote an editorial called Ponzi on the Potomac. Why? Because they can't help themselves. They've been at this forever. And it's not just because they want to get rid of Social Security. It's because that's what they get paid to do. Their donors want them to do this, and their donors are a lot more important to the Republicans than their constituents.
So do you think, though, that given the unpopularity of the stance on Medicare and the stance on Social Security, do you think they are banking just on the long haul, on the horizon? Like, yeah, we'll lose elections over this. Individual people will be kicked out of politics and the public furor over this. But if we keep bringing it back again and again and again and again, eventually it'll start to seem like not a crazy idea. Is that the calculus here?
I think there's a couple of things at play here. One, I think they're drunk on 2010. They won, and so they convinced themselves that Rush Limbaugh on Fox News Channel are right. The key to victory is you go further and further and further right. And if you're going to go further right, what's the right of killing Medicare, killing Social Security, or privatizing Social Security? And so they figured they can't go wrong if they go further right. Now, I think that they're incredibly wrong. The polls show how wrong they are. I think the election in the 26th district show how wrong they are, and I think that they might, be handing Barack Obama and other Democrats an enormous gift in 2012, if the Democrats, of course, are willing to accept that gift. And Barack Obama has the great advantage of having the worst, most clownish enemies of all time. So if they go in that direction, like you said, it'll be the gift from the skies. But look, they've been pushing for that since Eisenhower. You remember the famous Eisenhower quote about how only a few people want to do this in the country, and they're Texas oil millionaires, which, by the way, the Koch brothers, Texas oil millionaires. And he said they are few and stupid, but they keep on pushing.
Well, Cenk, one of the things that you and I have talked about is how the sort of different time frames that different players in politics have. And even, as you're right, this is a gift from the heavens, right? This is something that Democrats will have to try hard to screw up, to have the Republicans running on killing Medicare and killing Social Security this year at a time when the middle class is under so much pressure and is so dependent on these things in terms of thinking about ourselves having dignity into later life, right? It's such a gift. But is the long-term effect of this to reframe everything, to make this seem like an acceptable mainstream Republican policy option that Democrats will have to triangulate, that Democrats will have to go halfway there toward?
That is absolutely right. That is the best point made on this topic, which is they don't necessarily expect to win. They don't even necessarily expect to win on Medicare. What they want to do is they want to push the spectrum further and further right so that, well, they push the Democrats and pull the Democrats and the Washington media and everyone else closer to their position. And that's why they keep moving what they call the Overton window. And this is part of that process. And you know what? The reason they do that is because it works. The Democrats fall for that trick every single time. You've seen in every negotiation, the Republicans wanted $30 billion in cuts. And you remember they wound up at $38 billion in cuts in the last round of negotiations, because then they said, I want more, right? And look, the real problem is if the Democrats agree to any of this, and I'm afraid, given the talks with Joe Biden and the Republicans, that they might go some way towards that direction, which they should never, ever do.
Cenk Uygur, host of Msnbc Live at 6 p.m. and the Young Turks, of course. Cenk, I have been wanting to talk to you about this for a while, my friend. Thanks very much for your time.
Thank you, Rachel. Have a great night.